Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Ruchi Agarwal. I welcome you to web-based programming class. Today we will be discussing about functions. So we will be discussing about defining and calling functions, functions with parameter and function returning value. So first let's discuss about functions. PHP functions are similar to other programming languages. Function is a piece of code which takes one or more input in the form of parameters and does some processing and returns a value. Function is a self-contained block of statement that perform a specific task. Functions are more useful when you need to use the same code in more than one place. Reusing existing code reduces cost, increase reliability, and improve consistency. Ideally, combining existing reusable components with a minimum of development from scratch creates a new project. If you find that your code files are getting longer, harder to understand, and more difficult to manage, it may be an indication that you should start wrapping some of your code up to into a functions. So few of the properties of function are it should have a unique name and it should be independent and it can perform its task without intervention from or interfering with other parts of the program. It can take some inputs, arguments for performing a task. It returns a value to the calling program. This is optional and depends upon the task your function is going to accomplish. So there are two parts which should be clear to you: defining a PHP function and calling a PHP function. In fact, you hardly need to create your own PHP function because there are already more than 1000 of built-in library functions created for different area, and you just need to call them according to your requirement. So first let's discuss about defining a PHP function. So function is a self-contained block of statements that perform a specific task. It's very easy to create your own PHP function. If you want to create your PHP function, you simply need to write the following message in your browser. Like the syntax is function, function name, argument 1, 2, and so on. Then statements, return statement if you want to return any value. So return statements and arguments are optional. Function names follow the same rules as the variable name. Function may have one or more or many arguments, and the code, or you can say the statements that will be executed each time the function is invoked, should be enclosed within the braces. So you have to note this: while creating function, its name should start with the keyword function, and all the PHP code should be inside the braces. And when you want to call a function, you just have to mention the name followed by the pair of parentheses. If function takes any arguments, you place the arguments between the parentheses separated by comma. This is how you can call a function. Let's see one example. Following example creates a function called write message, and then you call it just after creating it. So in this, what you are doing, you are defining PHP function, you write the keyword function, then the function name. Function name is write message. And inside the body, you are printing with the echo, you are really a nice person, have a nice time. This message you want to be printing. Then you are calling this PHP function, you just type the name of the function followed by the parenthesis, write message and parenthesis. So when this function will be called, this message will be displayed. So what actually happens when a function is called? PHP looks up the function by its name. Error will appear if the function has not yet been defined. PHP substitutes the values of the calling arguments or the actual parameters into the variable in the definitions parameter list, or you can say the formal parameters. And the statements in the body of the functions are executed. If any of the executed statements are return statement, the function stop and returns the given value. Otherwise, the function completes after the last statement is executed without returning a value. So functions can be defined before or after they are called or invoked. PHP interpreter reads the entire program file and takes care of all the function definition before it runs any of the commands in the file. Now coming to PHP functions with parameters. Function can take some inputs or argument for performing a task. So PHP gives you the option to pass your parameters inside a function. You can pass as many as parameter you like. These parameters work like variables inside your functions. Let's see one example. Following example, take two integer parameters and add them together and then print. So what you want to do, you want to add two numbers and print the sum. So here the function name is add function. Write the keyword function followed by the function name, which is add function. You pass two parameters, num1 and num2. So $sum is equal to $num1, $num2. Both the number will be added and it will be stored in the sum variable. Now you want to print this echo sum of the two numbers is $sum. So whatever sum will be there, it will be printed. Now you are calling this add function and you're passing 10 and 20 values for number 1 and number 2. So both the numbers will be added and it will be stored in some variable, and the sum of two numbers is 30. This output will be displayed. Now PHP functions returning value. Function can return a value using return statement in conjunction with a value or object. Return stops the execution of the function and sends the value back to the calling code. So return statement is used to return a value or control to the calling portion of the program. It is an optional statement. In PHP, we can return values, arrays, or objects. We can return more than one values from a function using return array. And you can pass values, whatever values you want to return. So let's see one more example, which that example will take two integer parameters, add them, and then return the sum to the calling program. So we will be using return keyword to return a value from a function. So the same function add function, we are passing two parameters, number 1 and number 2. We are adding them and store the result in the sum, and then you return the sum. Return $sum. And when you call this function, add function 10, 20, two values you are passing to num1 and num2. So both will be added and the value 30 will be assigned to sum, and this you are returning it. So when you call this function, 30 value will be returned and you are assigning in one variable return value. And then that value you want to be printed. Echo return value from the function, $return value. So the output will be return value from the function is 30. This is how you can return the value from a function. Thank you. Have a nice day.